Hey, Jason and Chris from Moto Photo. This is Paul talking to you from the Provincial Health Headquarters. You will be joining us on a mission from the Provincial Health Headquarters out to the outer-lying areas of the St. Louis. We here are responsible for the health of 3.2 million people in an area the size of about Ohio with very difficult terrain. And you'll get to see that firsthand and document it and see what we're up against. So I wanted to introduce you to a couple people that I work with here, and I'm gonna let them introduce themselves and then I will translate it in English. So let's start with Dieudonné. Thank you, Dr. Paul. My name is Dieudonné Lumumba. He is a malaria expert working here at the Provincial Health Headquarters. So we'll be getting some stories from them about their journeys out to the outer-lying areas that will be informative in terms of what kind of obstacles we'll be facing on our trip. So let me go ahead and let this other guy here introduce himself, and then we'll talk about stories.
Oui, le Congo, Vital Olenga.
His name is Vital Olenga.
Assistant technique de la santé de la reproduction province de Saint.
And he is he's focused on maternal health and reproductive health for the St. Group.
Alors, les kunja occupé la kambora mama, la analwa mama la ambuto, la ambutana, la ana la vumbuto.
So his real focus is pregnancy and the first few days of a newborn's life, as the health of the mom and the baby are very interlinked, and that transition is what he focuses on.
Tikola kondo la wa fikite floriso la watana meso lumbuka la na chosu. À tout supervision de santé la maternité la maman la neuta la
So we have lots of stories about our trips and difficulties that we face. One of the obstacles that we share here at the DPS at the Provincial Health Headquarters is that we're dealing with computers and phones all the time. We deal with data, we do supervisions, we write up reports, and so we're out there traveling with this really delicate equipment, and it's always going sideways, as you will hear in the stories that we will be telling you. All right, so Chris and Jason, we're going to get a couple of stories here. I'll send you a collection of them, as many as you want. We do not lack stories from being on the road and obstacles that we face. So Dr. Vital is going to tell us a story about one of his outings.
So
he was going out to Panyamutombo, which is in the far south area of the St. Group, to do supervisions regarding maternal and newborn health.
Alors, la kata choka ambuchika la 60 km la zone de santé.
So he's going on very difficult roads. He was only about 60 kilometers away from his destination. And the road was closing in on itself. That's the way he describes it. The trees were growing, and the path that he was going on was closing in on itself. And so to be able to make the trip, he was carrying with him 2 jerry cans of gasoline, flanking both sides of his motorcycle. And so he was going through these narrow trees, and he was going through this very, very narrow gap, and bam, both of the jerry cans of gasoline were punctured and the gasoline was on the ground. So he was able to get to his destination, but because there was no fuel there to purchase and return, he was stuck there for a whole week. So he had to had to have somebody bring him gasoline, and so that just speaks to how difficult, where we're going is, and the lack of resources, things you have to take with you, like gasoline.
Dosaka papolo, waka makote teliko manila kamboa wapalidisme.
So as I said, my job is malaria.
Unyawaka tendeda zone de santé kapanya mutu mbweko zone kuliki akutata malaria leko.
And so he was going to Panyamutombo, the same place, because that's where there's even greater prevalence of malaria. They don't have money to go to the hospital, to pay to even access the resources that might be available at the health centers. So we were going there to treat people for free because the malaria rates were really high, so we had money to go pay for the consultation fees, so people got to access those resources and bring malaria under control. So from here to Panyamutombo, it's 450 kilometers to get from here to there. So we were working all week long. It was hard work. We got the work done. And now it's time for us to go back. And then there was 2 villages that were fighting with each other over had rights to land. It became lawless, and it was unsafe to travel back the way we had come through those villages. So our only option was to get into the Sankuru River from Panyamutombo in a canoe. So they were in a canoe that didn't have an outboard. It was a paddle canoe, and it was a 2-day trip back to Lusambo where they could get out and start heading home. So we were coming down the canoes ourselves and the motorcycles that we went with. And we got stuck in a whirlpool. And the canoe tipped, and all of us and our things fell out. The motorcycles were in the water. The computers we had with us went into the water. Everything we had was wet. And then once they eventually got back into the boat with all the wet stuff and made it to Lusambo, it took them more than a week to get things fixed up so they could move on and to get the money so that they could return from Lusambo. It's in our hearts to help the people of the Sankuru, but sometimes the terrain and the lack of resources make it very difficult for us. So many people do not have a computer at all, or have computers that are very old, and that's why we're making a request to your followers to send us your old computers, send us your old Windows computers especially, and or Android phones, which we use a lot here, and would be really awesome, and people would love it if they could get those supplies, and especially find ways to protect them on these kinds of trips.
Okay. Mambo tena la vanji polo mbawe tesoda afikite wa traverse so kana malo chimbo vanji polo shuga kunje mayiki manyilu ke moda shoki manyaka to anevele lutalwele hauke kunja kangala sumbu kanga.
So that's our story, and we were very interested in people helping us to do our job here, and we'll put to good use any computers or phones that you send our way. Thank you very much.